Now, how many of you have heard of high blood pressure? Raise your hand. Sure, everybody knows about high blood pressure, a very common disease. How many of you have heard of a veterinarian telling you need to give your dog a calcium channel blocker or a beta blocker for high blood pressure? Not very often. How about your goldfish? What about your parakeet and guinea pigs? You know, every animal can get high blood pressure just like people. The reason why they don't is in these little pellets we talked about earlier, we put things in there so they don't get it. They can get it, but they don't get it because we put the stuff in the pellets so they don't get it. How many of you heard that salt is bad for you when it comes to blood pressure? Salt's going to initiate high blood pressure. How many of you have heard that genetics has something to do with it? Well, both of those are wrong. Salt has nothing to do with high blood pressure, and genetics has nothing to do with high blood pressure. It's a simple deficiency of a single nutrient. A single deficiency of a single nutrient. We've eliminated high blood pressure in all these animals. What's the first thing that a good farmer puts out for his livestock in the pasture? Salt blocker, salt lick, isn't it? And there's nobody out in the pasture telling a cow she's limited to 1 lick a day, is there? And I refuse to believe that my human patients are dumber than a cow or a sheep. Say, look, go ahead and salt your food to taste. Don't worry about it. If you put too much salt on there, it won't taste good. You won't eat it. Remember the Japanese. They consume an entire salt shaker per person a day, 15 grams of salt a day, and they have 85% less cardiovascular disease than we do. And high blood pressure is not even in their vocabulary because they don't get it very often. Well, this came out in July of 1997. It redeemed my view on salt. It says, doctors lack proof that too much salt is unhealthful. After years of telling healthy people that too much salt isn't good for them, researchers still don't have solid evidence to back up that claim. Now, what do doctors call people who give unsubstantiated health and medical advice for profit? Call them quacks, don't they? So next time you have a doctor who says, look, I need you to give up salt because you're getting to that age, we've got to worry about your blood pressure. You say, doc, you're a quack. There's no evidence to support that claim. Yeah, I know you want to give me those statin drugs and blood pressure medication, even though I don't have those problems. And you need to go back and kind of read your stuff here because that's not true. Well, there was a wonderful study done by the U.S. government called the Sodium Task Force. Once and for all, they were trying to prove that salt was the cause of high blood pressure. This was published in April of 1997, and this is the bottom line of the study. It was called the Sodium Task Force, 1997. You can look it up on the internet. The study found that people who limited their salt intake to 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram a day, like doctors want you to do, have 6 times more heart attacks, 600% more heart attacks than those who defied their doctors and ate double that amount. If you listen to your doctor, you had 6 times more heart attacks than the people who defied their doctors and ate double that amount. So what mineral are we talking about? What mineral are we talking about when it comes to high blood pressure? It turns out it's a deficiency of calcium. Now, you can drink 50 gallons of milk a day and you can't get enough calcium to get your blood pressure down. You can eat 25 pounds of cheese a day and the only thing that will happen is you'll be so constipated you'll need a jackhammer to have a bowel movement. If you didn't have hemorrhoids, you're going to get them. You can take all the Tums you want. You can take all the oyster shell, eggshell, limestone, coral calcium you want. Nothing's going to happen. That's because if you take 1,000 milligrams of limestone or calcium carbonate, which is coral calcium and eggshell and oyster shell, all those are the same chemical formula. You take a 1,000 milligram capsule, you're not getting 1,000 milligrams of calcium. Only 140 milligrams is elemental calcium. 860 milligrams is carbonate. And because it's an elemental form of calcium, you only get 10%. So 10% of 140 milligrams is 14. If you take 2 of those 1,000 milligram capsules of calcium carbonate in any way, shape, or form, you get 28 milligrams of calcium. It's not going to do you much good when it comes to arthritis, osteoporosis, high blood pressure, periodontal disease, etc., etc. But we've eliminated a lot of high blood pressure in animals and some very famous people who didn't want to use drugs.